So, good morning, everyone. We're just going to start another Effisus Connect to Value session. Today, I will be followed by my colleague Mar Duran. Good morning, Mar.
Hi, good morning.
Specific on metal roofs. So we've been doing this Effisus Connect to Value sessions daily. Today, we still have another session. I think it's at 5 p.m. So stay tuned for that. And soon you also see the next schedule agenda for the next week. So everything, all the information is available on our media and including our website as well. For those who are here the first time, we also have a chat session. So feel free to leave any comment or any question during the presentation. This is this open discussion moment we have here. So when it comes to this type of perimeter flashing, we find it quite hard to seal with the most common solution for many, many reasons. In this case, I decided to bring a couple examples. Most common we find as our own experience. And in this case here, you have these two materials that need to be sealed between them. In this case, you have the metal roof itself with this corrugated configuration, sort of a sandwich panel, very common in industrial application, commercial applications, and not that usual, but we find very common sometimes is this when you have this intersection with, for instance, a parapet or a wall. And in this case, what happened here, it will lead to leakings, not only inside of these small gaps of the panel itself, but of course, since you have different materials next to each other, working together, and you have also here a open joint. So, Mar, when it comes to problems, what do you think will be the worst case scenario here? What eventually happened in this case?
Yes, in this case, as you mentioned, we have to study first what kind of materials we have and what kind of materials are our products are going to be in contact with. So, why is this? Because of the movements of the materials, dilatations and expansion, compression, etc., are different. So we have to use a product that absorb all that of movements, that it's compatible with both materials, three materials or one material. So in this case, we have to see that we have an undulated panel, a corrugated panel. So at the beginning, it seems like, okay, it's easy. You put a tape or something and it's going to be sealed. But we have to see all tapes are not really flexible or not really malleable. So we have to have one product with a very high or elasticity.
Absolutely, Mark. And one thing important to mention is that, as you said, these materials have to follow the sort of flexibility to fulfill this different shapes.
Yeah.
In this case here, you saw this type of asphalt membranes, bituminous membrane, which are very durable, very good material. But when it comes to sealing with a concrete wall, for instance, we find it quite hard to apply these materials.
Yeah.
But one thing interesting to mention is because the way you apply it, you always will need specialized work, specialized labor to apply this type of materials. As most of them needs extra tools, extra materials in this case to apply heat, apply some sort of a torch to adhere in these materials. And again, different compatibilities, different materials. You have a concrete wall, you have this other type of panel. They do not joint or connect well together as you see here because it applied a bit on the wall, but in the end, it was always missing this part of the corrugated panel, correct, Mark?
Yes, yes, and as well with these kind of solutions with time, we normally see when we went to site, they start to uh, get a little bit of space. It's like an adhesive, and I don't know if the word is that, an adhesive. So with time, we see these kind of membranes are not self-adhesive, so they need something. They need fire. They need mechanical fixing or whatever. So with time, or normally these kind of solutions start to another. So we need again something it with time, with the guarantee of a lot of times, because this is a roof. You're not always in the roof, so 10 years, 20 years, maybe 30 years solution to fix all of this.
One other thing interesting, more I'm seeing the pictures, is you always have this types of fasteners,
Yeah.
screws, and those things needs to be taken in consideration. Here,
Yes.
I think you can see pretty clear this type of installation here. So you have spaced every 20, every 30 centimeters. This again would depending on the configuration of the roof itself. So we have all of these fasteners. In this case, I think it works in a way to compress the panel itself between the concrete wall. This is even a bigger problem because again, metal, concrete, two different materials. What happened here? The clients or the most standard solutions offer is to apply just a bit of silicone between this joint, between these two materials, and we all know you eventually will crack. Correct.
Yes, 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 and as well, always with the screws, they are a very fragile point on the roof or any application. So at the beginning, yeah, the compression is really good. With a few months, okay, the compression is really good, but with years, um, again, with movements of the roof, with a meteorologic environment, they start to loosen, they start to corrupt a little bit. So the compression, it's every day again and again lower. So we have to be very careful if you put like a metal thing to cover other metal things. So it's not really um, sure.
Hmm. Again, so we're focusing today on this perimeters, this sort of type of flashing with this type of configurations. And so it's something very specific, but quite usual, quite common. We have several applications you see later on with our solution in Middle East or around Europe, and they're quite usually quite the same, even in completely different zones, because they're all trying to fulfill the same goal, which is the sealing between this type of perimeters.
Yes.
So here, again, it's just a more detailed a photo. I think they all fulfill quite same application, but just you get a quite nice review what we've been discussing so far. So here, I think you can see pretty clear. They do need to do this flashings with the same panel configuration. Again, this is depend on the panel itself, but we always will find this very weak point here for pounding water, for leak engines, for the water will get inside. And here, I think it's even worse because if you have a whole wall behind it,
Yeah.
this will starting to get inside of the wall. Probably, you see here a lot of crackings, crack mark in the wall. This is could be
Yes.
because of that, because of the expansion and contraction between the
Yeah,
materials.
yeah. It's a porous material, and with time, always this happen. And we can see here there is like a solution over the perimeter with the screws. And again, if you put some metal solution on metal panels, you always going to have an space so it's not a good solution, because you have a solution like half solution. You are still having spaces and holes. So all of that, with time you're going to seal it.
Absolutely. So one more, I think one important thing for those who are joining for the first time. So Ephesus have a very specific solutions when it comes to weatherproofing. We've been discussing a lot of facades, but we have many different solutions for roofing applications. In this case, we focus on this type of configurations, on this type of roof panels. But again, it all comes on the project spec. Mostly from the client side, more the outperforming department, what we actually need to analyze the details of the application.
Yes, we have a lot of different problems in sometimes in the roof, sometimes inside. So what we do, it's receive normally a little sketch or a photo sometimes, or a very specific details. So we study that. We have several products in our department of outperforming. So all of them are, I think they have in common, they are really simple to use. And so we are looking for the efficiency and the simplicity. So normally we have membranes or some tapes. They are normal self-adhesive, and if they are not self-adhesive, we have even some specific tapes to adhere all of those to the roof of the panels or the
Mm,
situation.
absolutely, more. So this is the solution we decided to brought today. I think some of you are already aware. We call it Effisus Bond FT. So Bond FT is a solution designed specific for the sealing of flashing details. In this case, roofing details will be discussing, but again, this could be applied for many different situations.
Yeah.
So, Mar, Bond FT, talking more about the technical aspects and the composition of the material. This is a uncured EPDM,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah. This.
So we all know EPDMs for all the technical data, but this is something more special when it comes to regards specific this product. So as I mentioned, uncured EPDM and
Yeah.
self-adhesive membrane.
Yeah. Yes, it's uncure. So the cure is going to be happen when it's applied all over the months. It's self-adhesive, so we have the facility of don't need anything mechanical to fix it. And it's 100% watertight, resist very extreme temperatures, even minus 0 and until 93-95 degrees. We use this product a lot in very extreme temperatures in our market, so it's completely secure and guaranteed. And one thing we can say about this, the elasticity and the flexibility is tremendous. So we have the facility of adhere to flat surfaces, and then corrugated irregular shapes in the same moment. So with the same slide of material, we use the flat and the undulated or corrugated thing. So not a lot of products in the market has this facility. Yeah, this facility. So it is really useful, and all our clients, when they use it and they start to see it, they always are really satisfied because of the amazing characteristics.
Absolutely, Mark. So I think just to share a little bit more how this technology is made, as I mentioned, is an uncured EPDM.
Yeah.
So for those that are not aware how APDM is made, so we have an extrusion machine which will apply all the rubber, the composition of the materials, And what it gives is exactly what we call a memory effect of the APDM, which is the ability to stretch it and it will go back, is the different change of the temperature in the process of fabrication. What we did exactly in this product was pick up like in an early stage. We did not submit a lot to this temperatures variation. So gave us a materials that once you stretch it, it will remain on that composition, on that shape that you intend, as you see here in the panel. And it was actually well cured once you shape it, once you press it. At site during certain temperatures and humidity conditions, it will start curing over time.
Yeah.
So the material is very versatile. It's compatible with most of the substrates, and as I mentioned, it could fit to any element. So, Mar, what are the most common substrates and things we also have done some compatibility tests?
Yes, we normally use it with metals, aluminium, etc. All kind of metals. We don't have any problem with concrete, with membranes of TPO or the EPDM membranes, and normal most with yeah, with the most materials in the market from today, so far we didn't have any problem, but we always say if we don't know or we are not aware of some specific material or some specific applications, we always have a test. We do a test or
Mm,
ourselves or in a specific laboratory, and we always prove it. So far we didn't have any problem with any material, so um, it's good.
absolutely, and I think it's important to mention we constantly doing lab testing, as you
Yeah,
mentioned, in any different materials or unusual materials. We can absolutely test the compatibility between them. But the most common when it comes to roofing or even specific facade applications, which we perform in this
yeah,
product, we can absolutely test compatibility between them. So the material comes in 50 meters rolls with different widths. It could be 10 centimeters, 15, 30, 45, um, to apply in the specific type of flashings. So as I mentioned, I think one of the most important aspects of this product is because you don't need any type of mechanical fixing or drilling or special to any other materials to apply it. There's just a software that's a membrane. All you need to do is say later on when it comes to method statement installation is just apply the primer and press the material roll. So it's very easy to transport. We see most of the clients when it comes to all these commercial endorsement applications on roofing, they always have a roll of them and they apply many times as they need. Not only these configurations here, I decided to bring out some application specific things, but you name it, it's very versatile.
yeah.
So here, for instance, is the application sealing of this ridge cap on roof. Exactly as I mentioned, the material is provided in different widths. In this case, I think something around 30, 45 centimeters. You were able to seal the whole ridge cap, which we find quite hard doing it with as a common or standard way, correct, Mark? So this is
Yes,
very easy application.
yes, and of course, as I said before, we have here a flat surface, and then a sandwich panel. So normally you will use at least two products if you wanted to fix this properly. So in this case, with our product, it's only one product and only one stride. So we normally no not we normally we use always first the flat surface, and then only with hands, it's really simple, only with hands we start to malleable the tape and do the form of the surfaces. After that, we always use a small roll, a silicone roll or a metal roll, to activate everything, every surface of the membrane, and to fix it and to seal it completely. But it's really simple, and it's really easy.
Yeah, and I think because of the flexibility of the materials, because of the characteristics, besides durability and water tightness, that they were guaranteed for this type of solution, is the most thing. I think is the flexibility when it comes to different shapes. And
Yeah.
here it's common, but we apply this is many times to seal skylights and pipe vents, very huge penetrations. You name it, many different
Yes,
applications for
and
this product.
I don't know if I mentioned, I don't remember, but it's the elasticity is 600%. So it's completely my level, and with this memory capacity, with time, with a few months, or almost a year, it's completely cured, and the shape, it's ended like that. It's not going to come back to the beginning. So that's a very important thing.
So, Mar, we have a question here from Peter saying, "Can I use this membrane in old concrete?" So, if you allow me, I think I can answer
Yeah.
this. So, yes, Peter, you can use. The only implication, and I would say old concrete, as you mentioned, is to see if it doesn't have any type of loose particles, something like that. If so, what we recommend is to properly clean the whole surface, and of course, we always recommend to use a primer for this application, which will give some assurance for the application itself. So it just that if it could be old, but yeah, just to take in consideration if it doesn't have any loose particles, I'll say. Correct, Mark?
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's a very porous material. So with time, we always say it's like start to create like when it's a little bit old, and we have like small stones and everything. So if we clean everything up and then apply the primer, it's not an issue at all
Yeah.
to use this product.
But when it comes to concrete, you'll find no issues. We will apply
Yeah.
majorly this in concrete. As you saw in the beginning, we have this roofing slash concrete interfaces. You can still use this product as well.
Yeah.
So here, I think it's pretty much the same application. This is again depending on the roof configuration, the panel configuration. But as you see, it's very easy. We talk about this specific points as you see here, how they manage to seal, applying sort of a mastics, sealants, and everything in here. You
Yeah.
don't need any of that, and you have a very stable solution for this type of application. As I mentioned here, you see exactly the connection between the roof and a concrete wall. Here you can see clearly, and I think we didn't mention so far, correct,
Yeah.
Mark? Um,
Yes.
what we recommend is all the perimeter of the application of the membrane to apply a bit of a sealant, which it all comes as a kit. You don't have to actually worry. This sealant, this adhesive sealant, we recommend is always tested for this exact application. It's very UV stable as well. So what is the purpose here of well, our recommendation applying a bit of adhesive around the perimeter?
Yeah, in this case, I said it's not cured, so with time it's going to be cured. When we use this kind of sealant, it's like a double check. It's to guarantee in that first phase that it's not cured, it's curing. We guarantee with this sealant that it's all the perimeter it's completely sealed and watertight, because as you said, this sealant is as well 100% watertight, UV resistant, and support extreme temperatures.
Yeah. So here is just some application tips. This is again, this is all available. All this information comes, all these materials that EFSA supplied. It comes with a manual of installation. we constantly on site. We're doing a lot of trainings, different commercial and technical departments. We go there, but our main goal is to have very simple solutions to be applied. But other than that, sometimes we find I think very valuable to be at site and following the application. So here we have a couple of tips when it comes to installation of the Bond FT. First thing, and I think is very crucial, is to properly clean the substrate, correct, Mar,
Yeah,
and let it dry. So it must be dry. Clean it. Effisus have a specific cleaner to apply this type of surface, but you can always use
yeah,
just a regular degrease in material to clean that surface. So
yes,
after you clean, you apply the primer, correct, Mar?
yes. We always apply the primer in all the surfaces. We're going to use the membrane. It's not because it's actually to potential the adhesion. So as we said, sometimes there are some particles like um, salts. So with this primer, it's everything compact, and we guarantee the adherence. So is it like 20-30 minutes to dry, and once it's dry, we can apply the membrane.
Yeah. So one important thing to mention in regards to the primer, we use it as for surface preparation. That this
Yeah,
is the only purpose of having a primer. It's just assurance to have, I would say, very similar to prepare the surface. That's it.
yeah,
This isn't will not increase, I'll say, the adherence of the materials, which is very good, but only to prepare the surface where it's going to be applied. So you only need to apply it where it's going to be having the membrane placed on it.
yeah,
So as a self-adhesive membrane has a foil film. So all you have to do is to apply it, removing gradually the film, correct, Mar, and starting applying by hand, trying to form it. And then all the regular part of the surface, you can always use a silicone roll.
yes, of course. We start with the flat surfaces to avoid everything irregular position, and we do it gradually to not damage the rest of the membrane. And then when it's all the plane surface is covered, we start to level the irregular surfaces by hand first, and then of course with a small roll.
So, Mark, we have here a couple of questions. James O'Brien said it adheres to ceramic. Um,
uh,
yeah, go ahead.
Yes, yes. It's completely compatible with ceramic, and even if it's something specific, as we said before, we always test it before to say, okay, you can use it.
Yeah. Other
Yeah.
question from Peter is saying, when should I apply the membrane after the primer? I think it's talking. So yeah, first you apply the primer,
Yeah.
you let it set, you let it dry, but we always, this is of course will depend on the
The
temperature
weather.
conditions, but usually 20-30 minutes. If it's dry, touch it by hand, and after that, I would say 30 minutes quick.
Yes.
You can always apply a membrane.
Yeah.
Lucas, can
No,
yeah,
no, no, no,
you
no,
have.
no. Hold on.
So Lucas saying, can I apply in a facade? Yes, Lucas. So as I mentioned today, we're focusing on this type of flashing on roof, but you can absolutely apply on a facade. We also we recommend we use this product when it comes to sort of facade perforations.
Yes.
I will not say more, not something in regards to interfaces, aluminum window interfaces. But when there's different facade penetrations, for instance, a balcony penetration, this is common when you have a prefabricated steel balcony. connections, or even pipe vents coming through the facade, steel beam, something like that.
Yeah.
We apply it.
Yes, of course.
So here what we have here, Mark.
Yes. So here, as we said, we start to mate to level the regular surfaces, and the tip, it's first we start in the center, to the extreme sides, because we want to avoid all the air inside, all the bubbles. And as a tip as well, we can say, if we unrolled the roll like 30 minutes before we're going to use it, it starts with high uh, gained temperature, and the flexibility, it's better. So when we don't want the membrane really rigid, so
Yeah.
sometimes we can just put it in the sun. It's not the sun.
Yeah. I mean,
It's not fire or
the
something.
product itself,
Yeah,
it's flexible, heating gun or
yeah,
torch or heating material. This is, of course, I think Mars mentioned. So we apply this product a lot in the Middle East. So you all know how the climate, the weather it is. So based on our experience, what we saw there, or during the summer here in Europe, is to extend the material, let it uh,
yeah,
warm up a bit, so it will be more flexible and more easy. How many times we should wait till the membrane it's perfectly cured? Peter, this is will depend again always on the temperatures and the conditions. But usually this is 6 to 9 months, I'll say. Correct, Mark?
yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think after 6 months, sometimes a year, but it's that it depends on the temperatures and the weather and the place it's going to be. It's very exposed. Or not to the sun or whatever, so it depends, but it's not a problem, because since the very first moment you apply it, it's it's doing all what is expected. So it's watertight, and it's UV resistant, and it's the application, it's completely sealed. So even it's in the moment they are curing, it's doing what is
Yeah.
expected, so
So
it's not a
just
problem.
we need to be a little bit careful with this, it's some termination. So understanding that cure, meaning cure, it doesn't mean dry it. Okay.
Yeah,
So the materials will always remain its flexibility capacities, and when we say cure it, it's only will actually get the final shape, or the actual shape once you apply it, after this time. So 6 to 9 months. This is will never get actually dry, because of course we'll lose the whole purpose of this application, is
yeah,
to have some flexibilities between this type of flashings. James O'Brien, looks nice, looks like a really nice solution. Can I have a sample? Absolutely, James. Even though this current situation we're all aware, we're still sending a couple samples. So feel free to leave your contact, your emails, or I'll leave mine at the end of the presentation. We can get in touch, and I'll be glad to clarify any other questions, and even send you a couple samples to you. So here is, when it comes to the adhesive application, correct, Mar? So to avoid any air bubbles, we say shift the
yeah,
pressure and following the pen orientation, and apply the sealant.
yeah, and yeah, and the last step is applying the sealant of all over the perimeter. As I said, to like a double check to be sure that in the very first months of the solution is going to be completely sealed.
This is an extra guarantee, correct,
Yeah,
Mark? Because
yeah,
the first thing, will always be, I would say, adhered. It will always be the joints, this type of connections. So since the whole membrane itself adhesive, I would say it's almost impossible to get any water inside here. So the sealant is just an extra guarantee, an extra assurance of the water tightness around the membrane, around this perimeter. So I don't know if you have any other questions. So those here, thank you for joining us. This is my contact. I'm focusing on the UK market. So, but any other market, I'll be glad to forward your questions to my colleagues. Mar is part of the technical department. This is something we call outperforming, which is focusing more industrial roofing application. Anything more technical, I'll be glad to share with Mar, and we can always get back to you. So once again, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Mar.
Thank you, João. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.